Good evening, everyone. Today, I just wanted to do a video describing my course because a lot of Americans and non-UK people don't understand the system in England, and I just wanted to kind of explain it for you guys all because I constantly find myself having to explain over and over again, and it gets very repetitive because people really don't know about the legal system in England. So I'm just going to be clear about everything in this video and explain it to you all. So in England, there are two types of lawyers. Two. No one's like better than the other, although when you're on the bar, there's an elitist mentality when you're on the bar because the bar has all the legacy, the chancery, the history of barristers. Barristers are the ones who go to court. Their sole purpose is litigation. Then there are solicitors. Solicitors are like general attorneys, lawyers who work in a law firm. They work closely with the clients, and when they need a certain case to go to a specific court, they will hire a barrister. So they're very divided. So the law has two different lawyers who specialize and who get trained to do specific things. Whereas in America, general attorneys do everything. But in England, we have this split system. Barristers have the links to the Inns of Court. The Inns of Court are 4 law societies that have been around since the 1300s. There's Lincoln's Inn, Middle Temple, Inner Temple, and Gray's Inn. There's even a rhyme from hundreds of years ago. Inner for the rich, middle for the poor, Lincoln's for the scholar, Gray's for the whore. Or Lincoln's for the gentleman, Gray's for the whore. There's different versions of it. I'm part of Middle Temple, or I was. For those of you who don't know, I used to be on the BPTC at City University of London. That didn't work out. I failed 2 out of 14 exams, and I just couldn't do it again. I was so burnt out from the whole thing, and I took a few years break, and then I decided to go back and do the LPC because I realized as cool and as respectable and intriguing as the bar is, you know, Harry Potter filmed the dining footage at Lincoln's Inn. That whole dining thing is a very English tradition. We wear black robes when we go dine with our societies, our law societies, and they've been around so long. They used to be the bar providers. They brought back the Inns of Court bar course, and they have their own system of application and admissions and things like that. But the English bar is just so old, and there's so much history and tradition and the legal culture attached to it. So you do feel like you're part of this like elite society. It was really, really difficult for me to let that go. I could have gone back, but at the time, I just felt so defeated. And as much as I love the bar, the reality is it's extremely difficult to build your career and be that high-flying city barrister that everyone wants to be, because barristers are self-employed. So a lot of it is trying to get hired, and it takes years to build a name for yourself, and it can take years. Whereas when you're a solicitor, you are on a salary and you work for a law firm. So barristers pretty much have to really hustle, especially first out of law school. You are given 5 years to find pupilage. What is pupilage? What is it? Well, when you're a solicitor or a barrister, you can't qualify. Even if you finish the bar, say you pass the BPTC, BTC, BVC, whatever it's called now, they keep changing the name. We'll call it the bar course because it keeps changing. Or the LPC, the legal practice course, because they're trying to replace it with the SQE, the Solicitor's Qualifying Exam. But whether you're en route to be a solicitor or en route to be a barrister, there's so many steps. So first, from the very beginning, you have to pass your LLB or your GDL. But they're getting rid of it, and they're trying, like I said, they're trying to get rid of the LPC. The GDL is the concentrated, condensed version of the LLB. LLB is the regular law degree. The equivalent of an LLB in America would be the JD. The LLB is a 3-year law course that you take in university. Once you've finished your LLB, you can go on to do the bar or the LPC. You choose whether you're going to be a barrister or a solicitor. Or you did some other degree and you wanted to convert into law, then you'd have to do the GDL. The GDL is also known as the GD Hell. I would never, ever recommend it to anyone. I did both because I had a gap in my studies, and for bar purposes, when I wanted to do the bar, to cure the gap, to refresh me on my exams, I had to do the GDL right after my LLB because of that gap. So I literally had to do the same thing twice, and that was no fun. I found the GDL extremely difficult and far more stressful than the LLB because you're doing 3 years worth in 9-10 months, and that's hell. GD hell. Okay, once you're done, either like the LLB or GDL, you have to choose to do the LPC or the bar. The LPC trains you to be a solicitor. So it trains you to learn how to do all the practical things that you would if you were working in a law firm. The BPTC, BVC, BPC, or BTC trains you how to be a barrister. Everything is advocacy focused. Everything is learning how to file all the documents for court, be in contact with your solicitor, be in contact with your client, court, advocacy, how to argue cases. Everything is litigation focused. While LPC, everything is law firm focused. So, once you finish those, you still can't qualify. Once you finish the LPC, when you're en route to be a solicitor, you have to get what is known as the training contract. That means you have to get some law firm to agree to take you on to shadow another solicitor for like a year or two. Not until after you've finished that training contract, you are then a fully qualified solicitor. So you're on the bar route, you want to be a barrister. Even if you finish the bar and pass with flying colours, you're nothing and cannot qualify until you get a pupilage. A pupilage is the equivalent of the solicitor's training contract. You have to try to get a chambers. A chambers is basically, I guess you can think of it as a law firm for barristers, but it's different because you're self-employed, you're not an employee, and you work under a head. You share the overhead and you're in a specific set of offices for barristers, but you're all self-employed and you pay like an overhead to share those offices, and there's each chambers kind of specialize in different kinds of law, and there's tiers. There's like really posh chambers, just how there are different levels of law firms. There are magic circle law firms, which are like the firms that you want to be a part of, and the ones, the highly coveted, high-paying ones, the posh ones, that everyone wants to become a part of. But some people will have to start at the bottom at some tiny little startup firm or whatever, some backstreet law firm, whatever. But the point is, there are so many steps to get qualified. So law school itself is not enough. And once you do the LPC or the bar, it's still not enough. There's still steps. You still have to have a law firm or chambers take you in under their wing and agree to train you for a year or two. So, with that being said, my route, why I did not choose the bar after I was so dead set on being a barrister. You get really caught up with that mentality. There's just so much deep history and culture, and it's I can't help but say it's very elitist, but you get really caught up in it and you start linking your self-worth with it. Like, if I don't do this, I'm nothing. And there's a bunch of jokes like, oh, you don't want to be a dirty solicitor and ambulance chaser and blah blah blah, and like, you know, there's so much rivalry between the two types of lawyers in England that people have no idea about. Like, the solicitors aren't allowed to use our libraries unless they can prove that they tried to search for this specific book everywhere around the town until they can prove that it wasn't nowhere to be found. And then our libraries at our bar, at our inns, will say, okay, you can use it. So solicitors are not part of the bar culture, and there is a huge division between the two. And it's just kind of unfortunate, because you start, it's sad to say, but you start feeling better than the other group. But anyway, let's move past that. So I had failed 2 exams when I was on the BPTC, and needless to say, I'm very surprised that I even passed as many as I did, because I had such a horrid year. It was so difficult for me. I should not have been on the course when I was, but I was in a rush. I just wanted to get it over and done with. You know, a lot of people in law school, they're like, just get it done, just you know, don't wait any longer, don't procrastinate, just get it over and done with. But if you're not mentally ready, I really highly advise against that. You need to be completely ready and able to focus, and you have to be mentally prepared to give it your all, or you're not going to have a good time. You're going to suffer and you're going to fail probably, and that's what happened to me. My reasoning to most people that I tell is quite justifiable. Like, my father contracted cancer recently before the course, and my last pug brother died. I know some of you aren't animal people, but my pugs I grew up with. He was 17 and they were my everything. And I had to watch him being put down on FaceTime, and it was the hardest thing. I was having nightmares and crying almost every night throughout the whole year. I just could not focus. And some people won't understand that, but for those of you dog lovers who totally understand that, it was a combination of those things. And I was grieving, and I was still grieving about my other pug brother, Napoleon, who died a year before. So I was still in a really vulnerable state, and I was emotionally compromised, and that is why I failed. So I was in America at my parents' when I received the letter from my university, and it literally just says, oh, we're sorry, but your extenuating circumstances weren't granted for whatever reason. And then it says, we have notified you're in. Basically, Middle Temple was told that my name, Tina, has not passed the bar. This is so embarrassing. It's like, we've told everyone you're failure. And I was just in tears. But honestly, it's almost like I wasn't surprised. I'm like, with as many distractions as I had faced, and, you know, difficulties I'd faced that year, how can I possibly ask for my parents to pay again? I just felt like I didn't want to waste the money, and I just couldn't bring myself to go through that kind of stress and pressure of the bar again. And so I stayed at home for a year trying to apply for the New York bar. Didn't get in because they're really anal about time. They don't accept the GDL or the LPC. So if you have a GDL, you can't sit the New York bar. They want you to have an LLB, but your LLB has to be completed within a certain time frame, and I didn't complete that within a certain time frame. So despite me having completed my LLB and my GDL wasn't good enough for them, they wanted me to do the American Masters, which is $70,000. So I kept working, and then I moved back to Vegas and was go-go dancing here, and this is my second year in Vegas, and I've had enough of this industry, and I've healed, I've moved on. We adopted a new dog. She's my little girl. You guys have seen her. Her name is Nova. And she healed my heart. She did. And I'm fine now. And I thought, you know, I'm okay now. And I was able to detach myself from my barrister dreams because I stepped back. I was too close to the situation. I stepped back and I said to myself, what do I want to do? I don't want to be bound and limited to one country and one place. I'm such a gypsy. I've been raised like a gypsy. I've been raised everywhere. I've never been attached to just one place. I want the freedom to be able to go anywhere and do what I want to do. And I'm like, being a barrister is amazing. You know, even with the wig and gown, it's such an amazing profession. And unless you come from the most like prestigious school and got first on everything, it's very difficult to get into a really, you know, well-to-do chambers, like prestigious chambers. And no, I didn't get first on everything, and I didn't go to the best school, so I know it would have been really hard, difficult. I mean, it's still doable. There's some great barristers I know that went to my university. My university's not terrible, but obviously it's not Oxbridge. It's not Oxford or Cambridge. That's what we call Oxford or Cambridge in England, Oxbridge or Red Bricks universities. It's still well known for law though. There's, like, in London, I was surprised to know that a lot of my professors from the University of Wolverhampton were like legends, like Chris Turner. He was one of my lecturers. Jatinder Vardy, rest in peace. She passed away a few years ago. She was one of my favorite lecturers as well. There's some really amazing barristers I know in London that went to my school. Like, the University of Wolverhampton has been known to pump out some really good lawyers and great judges. And we used to beat Cambridge and Oxford in our mooting competitions every year. When I was there, we beat them. I didn't do the external moots. I did the internal mooting competition, which I got to finals. And with our cross-examination competition, I held the top individual score in my year. So litigation was really high on my list, and the bar was just the only thing that I had in mind. Anything else was not an option for me at the time. But fast forward to just recently, after I was in Vegas working, and since I failed the BPTC, I said, what do I want to do? Do I really want to be a barrister? The route to being a barrister is difficult. It's no easy task, and anyone will tell you that. The success rate, like when you compare getting a job and employment, your employment chances as a solicitor are in the 90-something percentile. And as a barrister, it's in the 40s to 50s. That's why there are so many bar qualified people who are working at McDonald's and not able to find pupilage, because for every 1,500 graduates every year, there's only 500 or less pupilages available. But there are a hell of a lot more contracts. And I really had to distance myself from the picture and ask myself, what is my dream job? I used to think it was being a barrister, and I would so be happy doing that. But my ultimate dream job was to be an international lawyer, someone who can go from country to country and have freedom to practice. And I realized I used to want to be an EU barrister, like when we were part of the EU, so I could fight cases whether a citizen was being hard done by the government, or whether a citizen was giving a hard time to their government, either using the EU against or for your case. So that really interests me. Like, I love international law. I always loved business, commercial, competition law. I loved EU law. I loved all the international stuff. Anything to do with international, I'm really interested in. And I figured, you know what, I want to be an in-house lawyer. And I don't want to be limited to just England. I want to be able to practice in other countries, other places. And I realized I really want to be an in-house lawyer for like a fashion house, like Chanel, Dior, Louis Vuitton, a fashion house. I want to be that. And I saw this job. I just started looking at different jobs available, because most of the jobs I'm like, ugh, could never do it. Apart from entertainment, when I look at like corporate office style jobs, most of them are like, bleh, law is the only thing that interests me. So I know I'm in the right field. It's just like, where exactly within the field of law do I need to be? Then my ears perked up and my heart jumped out of my body when I came across a job by Chanel on Indeed called Internet Enforcement Attorney. And I was just like, alarm bells were just ringing in my head, and I called my mum and I'm like, Mumsy, I know what I want to do. I finally know what I want to do and I'm ready. And she's like, what is it? I'm like, I sent her then all the job descriptions, like everything, all the duties I love. That was me. It was calling out to me. So I had applied to the California bar because apparently they're more lenient than the New York. I have to tell you that they are kind of misleading, to be honest, because you speak to people and they're like, oh yeah, as long as you have your law degree and you get your credits evaluated, we can accept you, this and that. But then when I did that, they basically told me I needed to do the American Masters just like New York. And I'm thinking, why do you even have your application open to foreign law degree holders when you don't really accept them? If you require the American Masters, then you shouldn't even let international law degree holders apply. You should tell them on your website that they need American credits. What's the point of evaluating your foreign credits if you're not going to accept them? But they did accept mine. They're like, we accept your credits. And I have this fancy certificate that says, your LLB credits are equal to an American JD. Congratulations, blah, blah, blah. But they didn't accept it. They're like, but technically they did, but they didn't. They're telling me they did. On the I'm part of the California Bar, the website, the California Bar, and I'm registered and my application's there and everything's all checked off and my degree evaluation's all checked off. But then it says I'm not accepted because I would need an American Masters. So I was really pissed off because I wasted money applying and wasted time applying, and I'm thinking they should have just told me that. And they refused to tell me when I spoke to them on the phone before I even went through the application. And that just pissed me off. Anyway, I spoke to the woman who told me the news that, yo, you need your American Masters. And I said, basically she threw me through a loophole, a circle, and I said, is that the only way? And she goes, well, if you qualify in your jurisdiction, so if you get your LPC or your bar, then you can also sit. So it was literally a matter of $70,000 or £13,000, which is around $16,000. I said to myself, well, I also want the opportunity and the option to practice in England. I really miss England. So I went with the iLLM-LPC. So this is the first time the LPC has been offered through distance learning online. It is the University of Law. You can look it up. I will link it below. And they are the largest. They specialize in law and business, but mainly law. You can do your undergrad there, you can do your LLB there. They offer a whole bunch of different law courses. But a lot of people think this is like a postgrad. It's not the same thing, even though technically it is a postgrad because it is after you graduate your regular law degree. It's a professional course. So this isn't just an extension from university. This is training you how to function and how to work as a real solicitor, or if you're on the bar, a real barrister. So my course specifically, the iLLM-LPC, is the Joint Masters in Law and International Legal Practice. Majority of the electives that are available are commercially based. They are commercial based. most of it is to do with commercial law. We have like one property and one criminal, but majority of them, if you look at them, it's all commercial. So it was perfect for me. I am choosing international intellectual property, international competition, and international commercial. I've been iffy about whether I should do commercial dispute resolution, because ADR, or dispute resolution, is actually really good to know. I have some experience from my time on the bar, but that's not on paper. There's like literally no proof of that because I didn't pass. So I'm still trying to decide whether I want to choose international commercial or commercial dispute resolution. But I'm leaning towards international commercial because dispute resolution can be learned even on the job. But I do want that refresher. I did company law, which is along the same lines when I was doing my GDL and my LLB. I always chose commercial company, like things like that. So naturally, one of my favorite courses right now is business law and practice. So this is literally teaching you how to be a solicitor. So our questions are not typical law school questions. We don't have the problems that you have to figure out and look through the law to figure out and decide the specific issues that these clients have. Instead, you are receiving fake emails from your supervising solicitor, and you are a trainee solicitor in a law firm, and they're like, I'm going out to lunch, I didn't have time to do this, can you please look over this? It's like a real scenario, because those are the scenarios that you will be dealing with when you are a trainee. You're going to be picking up all the pieces that the supervising solicitor is throwing at you. I need this done by tomorrow, this and this and this, the client wants this, and you'll receive like appendixes and documentation of like case details and things like that. And you are taught the different methods and how to communicate, how a legal email should look like, a legal letter, a memo, memorandum, things like that. So we have examples on how to write these things, and we're learning as we go along. I'm so unfamiliar with it because this is literally the first time I'm doing this stuff. It's all practical. How to file a claim form, how to write your particulars of claim, how to write a defense. Everything has a specific order and a specific structure, and this is what we're learning. So by the time we get a job and get hired, we'll know how to do all these things, and that's the benefit that. So I hope I've cleared up the two types of law routes that you can take in England. And for those of you who are hopeful, especially you UK law graduates that are hopeful to practice in America, you have to sort out how you're going to get your visa. I'm really lucky because my mum petitioned me to get my green card when I was a kid. So I have technically dual citizenship. A green card, residency, permanent residency is looked on as dual because I have all the rights that an American national has. I am like a naturalized citizen, I guess. That card gives me all those rights and right of entry and things like that, right to work, it's normal, everything I get. I don't know the exact details on how you can get sponsored if you don't already have ties to America somehow. I mean, the friends that I have a friend who is from St. Lucia, but also got his American residency years ago when he was also a kid, is like me, because he got his English qualifications to practice law, and he's working here in America. But what I can tell you is that it is possible. It may take longer for you, but just keep in mind that New York is far more difficult to get accepted to sit their bar. California is iffy. I don't know what it was, but you hear different things from different people. But in the end, regardless of what their website looks like, and it may give you hope when you read it, like, oh, okay, you just have to get evaluated, I'll be fine. they're also requiring me to sit the American bar or the LPC bar. The California bar does have an advantage over the New York bar because if you are LPC or bar qualified, they will allow you to sit their bar exam. You still have to go through the credential evaluation because you need proof that you say that what you have is genuine and legitimate. And that's why they have these professional evaluators to go through your credits and contact your school and make sure everything is legitimate. And then you'll be fine. It's $350. So it's not cheap. Law is not a cheap route. Everything costs money. Broke by the end. I'm very lucky I have my parents financially backing me. I never take that for granted. And I'm working really hard. I'm actually working a lot harder now than I ever did when I was in school physically. I think because when you're in school, when you're attending lectures, you get this sense of false security. Like, oh, I sat through lecture, I'm fine. I don't need to do any heavy reading. But you do, you really do. But since I'm abroad now and I'm really far from my school, I feel like, oh my God, I have to do work. And this is really intense. The bar is extremely difficult when I was on the bar, and everything kind of came at the end, just freaking slammed me into a bloody brick wall. It was like a ton of rocks just falling on top of me. But the LPC, what I'm doing now, is stressful from the beginning because you are required to submit 4 assignments every 9 to 10 days. Around every 10 days. It's like a week and a half. Every week and a half, you have to submit 4 submissions. Different areas of law. Right now we're only doing 4. We're doing civil litigation, property law and practice, business law and practice, and taxation. I bloody despise and loathe tax thoroughly. I cannot stand numbers and maths. It's not the maths part that messes me up. It's just that I'm dealing with bloody numbers and I just can't handle numbers. They just piss me off. The calculations come out all different, and then you realize you didn't do something properly, and then the percentages, and it's just annoying because we're already having to deal with law and learning how to apply it in practice, and then the last thing I need to do doesn't bloody matter what area of law you want to go into. You cannot escape taxation. It's always going to be there, so you have to just face it, dive into it, and just bloody accept it. So that's what I'm trying to do now. Anyway, I've spoken enough. I just wanted to clear this up, and I hope that I've helped some of you guys kind of gain some clarity into the professions. And if you have any questions whatsoever, please do leave your comment below. You're welcome to leave your comments and your experiences, your opinions, your thoughts, whatever. I will be glad to answer them in my next video. I am wishing you all a wonderful day, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.